Not surprisingly, the Standish survey found that mega projects were more likely to fail than smaller initiatives. Traditionally, companies doing monolithic projects take on too much complexity and risk. These types of projects get a lot of attention and resources, but there are so many moving parts, it's hard to capture every requirement, manage change effectively, communicate with and manage many stakeholders, and achieve scope, time, and cost goals. Project managers should consider divvying larger projects up into smaller sub-projects under the umbrella of a Program Management Office or PMO. Once the mega project is broken down, all of the stakeholders need to be aligned with individual project goals and formal measures and processes implemented so results can be tracked. A lack of a well-defined, proven, and repeatable process is a big contributor to project failures. Yet, it's a fine line. Add too much process, and project teams can get bogged down in details that don't add value. Organizations with a PMO and a strong governance process do not necessarily guarantee better outcomes either. In some cases, compliance and governance processes cause programs to run longer and be delayed. That's because companies don't always know what to govern and instead implement layers of control without evaluating the effects. Companies have to look at the value that governance brings to the project and how to streamline that process to make it more efficient. Otherwise, it becomes a vicious cycle. Projects don't do well, so you add governance. Then they do worse, and you add more governance without ever looking at what you get out of it. So it really comes down to due diligence or a lack of it. Building a good governance model requires that project teams collect data on what tools, techniques, and processes add value to their projects based on project outcomes. That data feeds the governance structure because it indicates what makes a team successful and identifies risks and impediments. So let's take a look at a project management model which will provide the necessary control and governance to help you avoid becoming part of these sobering statistics. This project management framework is a very simple tool which will help you to effectively manage your projects. It's shown actually as an IT project management framework, which is actually a bit of a misnomer. It can be used for projects of all types, sizes, and levels of complexity, from adding a new aseptic filling line to design and construction of a new packaging and labeling facility to selection and implementation of a global supply chain management or ERP system. There's a lot of information on this slide, and I know it's hard to read, but the way this framework works is simple. You integrate your SDLC with your PM methodology. You identify the activities and deliverables associated with each phase and build them, along with their associated milestones and dependencies, into your project plan and work breakdown structure. You then establish phase gates and a phase gate review process with key stakeholder participation to ensure that all activities and deliverables are complete before moving to the next phase. This is a simple but very powerful tool to help manage all the moving parts and pieces. Another important element of successful project management is stakeholder outreach. For most organizations, the complexity of projects keeps increasing. There are more people, more resources, and more integration points in today's projects than ever before. Unless it's a small project, the resources you need are unlikely to all sit beneath the same roof. The number of critical touch points and the economics of travel and time make travel only part of the potential solution. Leveraging the tools of virtual collaboration extends your reach. Even when a project may not demand the active involvement of many stakeholders, people expect to be in the loop because we live in a connected world. So you need to use virtual meetings and presentations to keep people up to date in ways that are relevant and engaging. You need to solicit feedback and information from team members. And you need to elicit and disseminate project contributions and accomplishments to create a realistic buzz that will attract support, interest, attention, and commitment to your project. Another important aspect of stakeholder outreach is risk analysis. Risk is everything. Every member of a project team must keep his or her eyes locked on risks. It's not about being paranoid. It's about balancing risk with business value, which lies at the heart of success for every project. Managing risk is done throughout the project lifecycle. However, the quality and depth of risk analysis during the initiation phase sets the foundation of the project. Your stakeholders will typically be very scattered, so you need to include them and should complete a thorough stakeholder analysis. You need to use online forms to collect risks from all stakeholders. You need to consolidate and categorize risks into a master list. You need to ask stakeholders to rate the risks according to severity, probability, and impact. You need to collect ideas for risk mitigation or avoidance and maintain a high-level online risk register as an ongoing collaboration tool with your stakeholders. Another simple but powerful tool you should have in your toolbox is the decision analysis and resolution process. You can use this simple tool to successfully reduce the subjective nature of critical decision-making, provide a mechanism by which demands of multiple stakeholders can be satisfied, provide an objective, impartial method to arrive at decisions, and reduce stakeholder bias and groupthink, which often results from stakeholder positional authority. You can avoid stakeholders from being influenced by what they think the boss wants using this tool. You can use the decision analysis and resolution process for planned or pre-planned decision points. For example, I've used it in the past for selection of a requirements management traceability tool or selection of a donor merge strategy. Or you can establish threshold criteria for invoking the DAR process throughout the project, such as decisions that would have significant schedule or cost impact, decisions that would constitute a major regulatory risk, or decisions that could affect the ability to meet project objectives. Let's look at the DAR process model and see how it works. Some of you may be familiar with Kepner-Trigo, or KT analysis, which is what this model is based on. And it's really a very simple tool to use. You start by identifying the alternatives. You identify evaluation criteria. You provide a relative weight to each criteria. You score each alternative against the evaluation criteria using a standard scoring scheme, typically a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. And the red boxes here basically would show the total score for each alternative. The alternative with the highest score is obviously the preferred decision. If the outcome of your DAR process is within 10% for 2 alternatives, you may also want to consider doing a sensitivity analysis to test the effect of different weighting and scoring for those areas where there may be some potential uncertainty.